Now, who will answer this? What is this? What is this test and where it is used? This image is what? Um, because the tests again are quite important when we are talking about the Central Institute examination. So I have tried to incorporate maximum of the test also. Yes. So Avinash is there. Yes, Avinash, this is Duchrome test. And where do you use this Duchrome test? Is it for the subjective verification of refraction, for the subjective refinement of the reflection, subjective binocular balancing, or none? What should be your answer? What this Duchrome test is used for? Very good, Sakshi. Yes. So, as you are saying that if the person sees green more clearly, that means he is having hypermetropia, and red more clearly means myopia. ठीक है ना? That means it is used for what? That means it is used for the refinement of the refraction. Now, refraction में भी जब refinement कर रहे हैं तो we have got two options. It could be spherical refinement, or we can also have a cylindrical, or we can have the cylindrical refinement. So it is not used for cylindrical, it is used for the spherical refinement. So basically it is used for the subjective refinement of the spherical errors. Subjective refinement of which errors? The spherical errors. How do you read this? So if a person is having the emetropia, he should be able to see the letters written on the red equal to the letters written on the green. So they should be equal. If the person is able to see both of these letters at an equal pace, that means he is a emetrope. If he is able to see the red one more clearer, if this is clearer, then he is a myope. If he is seeing green clearer, then he is a hypermetrope. So what we will do, suppose he is seeing red more clearly, and that means he is a myope, we will start giving the corrections minus, so that he comes just at the normal pace. Now, if you are doing the overcorrection, right? So if you are then he will be leading to the hypermetropia. So it could be a overcorrection also, overcorrection of myopia. It can also be a overcorrection of the myopia here. While in cases of the red one, it could be a myopia or it could be a overcorrection of the hypermetropia. So other way round also it could be correct. So though we are not using much nowadays this Duchrome test, but again you should know it, and it is important for the examination purpose. So it could be a myopia, or it could be a overcorrection of hypermetropia, or it could be a hypermetropia and the overcorrection of myopia, right? Yes. So now again an important question, because I know fundus images are important. So we will try to incorporate different kind of fundus images there. All of the following are true for a patient who has been using the chloroquine and the above fundus picture. So what is this fundus picture here? What is fundus? Some people also ask me what is fundus. So fundus is actually the view of the retina which you are looking through the ophthalmoscope. When we are looking through the ophthalmoscope, you are looking at the fundus view. So the picture that you are seeing, that is called as a fundus. So fundus mein kya kya we can see? You can look at the optic disc. And yes, somebody was asking me how to find out whether we have this one is a vein or this one is a artery. So I will show you a more clearer picture. Vein will have a wider caliber in comparison to an artery. So the darker one, the broader one will be the vein, and the lighter one, narrow one will be the artery. So when this is your optic disc, so this area will be the macula. This area is the macula. Now in the macula, I am seeing a hyperpigmented area. This is hyperpigmented. Then I am seeing a hypopigmented. This is your hypopigmented. And then again, I am seeing a hyperpigmented area. So this is actually what? This is your bullseye. And where you are getting, this is macula. So this is bullseye maculopathy. So this is your bullseye maculopathy. Yes or no? Yes. All right. So keep on posting your doubts. I'll try to take them. Don't worry. Now, look at the questions here. Bullseye maculopathy is reversible. So tell me, is it true or false? Is this maculopathy reversible? Yes or no? Try to do it as a true and false statement, because you can even get true and false kind of questions also here. So we will try to do them as true and false. What do you say about A option? Then vortex keratopathy. Vortex keratopathy, which is also called as the cornea verticillata. Cornea verticillata. Yes. Is it related to the dose or not? It is not related to the dose. Is it true or false? Duration of the treatment more than 5 years is a risk factor for maculopathy. True or false? And develops with a cumulative dose of more than 500 milligram. True or false? So you have got 4 options here. We already know it's a bullseye maculopathy, which can occur due to the chloroquine as well as hydroxychloroquine. Here they are telling you that we have used this chloroquine. So you have to tell all the 4 options may say, they are saying the above fundus picture, all of the following are true or except. So you have to take out the false statement here. So let us try to evaluate all the options. Number 1, bullseye maculopathy is reversible. True or false? Yes. So this is a false statement. It is not a true statement. Vortex keratopathy is not related to the dose. Yes, it's a true statement. Duration of the treatment more than 5 years is definitely a risk factor. True statement. True. And develops with a cumulative dose of more than 500 milligram. Again, a true statement. So which one is false? That bullseye maculopathy is reversible. It's not reversible. So we will try to see some of the important facts related to this bullseye maculopathy, because it's important. See, there is another question that you can have on the bullseye maculopathy. This is a patient who is taking the hydroxychloroquine, and how much he is taking? 500 milligram per day of hydroxychloroquine. And this is the fundus picture where you have the typical bullseye maculopathy here. We have this, and you can see this is your FFA finding, because this lesion is autofluorescent. It is autofluorescent. This lesion is autofluorescent. So we can find out here also. Now, try to see. See, this is again an integrated question, because we are using these chloroquine derivatives at many places, like in the treatment of malaria, rheumatological, as well as the dermatological disorders. So maybe they are giving you a medicine question. The patient started with the chloroquine and now he's developing this, or maybe in the orthopedics for the rheumatoid arthritis, like this. Now, the important thing is, look at the toxic doses. So always remember that you have chloroquine and you have hydroxychloroquine. I have told you this 100 of times. So this is 1x, so this becomes 2x, right? So all the values are double here. So if you look at the daily doses kya hai? Chloroquine ki it is 3 milligram, so hydroxychloroquine ki double 6.5, and the duration is 5 years. That means if you are giving continuously these doses, 3 milligram per kg per day of the chloroquine or 6.5 milligram per kg per day of the hydroxychloroquine, if I am giving for a very long duration of 5 years, or if I am talking about the cumulative doses, so cumulative doses are again double hai. Roughly you can take, जैसे chloroquine की you can take as 500 grams, so hydroxychloroquine की just double हो जाएगी 1000 grams. Here they have given you 500 grams. Exactly it is 460, but you can keep it approximate also. So 500 for the chloroquine and 1000 for the hydroxychloroquine. Now mechanism of action. Mechanism में क्या है कि this chloroquine is acting on the RPE level, जो pigment epithelium है. So this pigment epithelium contains the melanin. So basically it is acting on this. So where it is acting, the site of action क्या है? Melanin है, RPE layer है. RPE layer के बाद I have layer of photoreceptor. So it is going through that, and that is why it is causing maximum toxicity to the photoreceptors. Photoreceptors के बाद it is affecting the outer nuclear layer, and then it is also causing the disruption. So basically it is starting from the outer side, it is causing it is connecting with the melanin of the RPE. It is causing the toxicity to the photoreceptors, it is affecting the outer nuclear layer, and it is also causing the disruption of the RPE layer. Now if I want to do the screening, now you can have a question on the screening. Your orthopedic friend has started the drug, when should he send for the screening? Intern there has asked you that when should I start sending for the screening? It could be like this. So always remember that the toxicity usually occurs after 5 years. ठीक है ना? But that does not mean that you will wait for 5 years. You have to do the baseline examination, only then you will come to know that what are the changes. So I should start the screening within 6 months of the prescription. Within 6 months I have to start toxicity after 5 years, and then how much time I should repeat. So every 6 to 12 months I have to repeat. Within 6 months of the prescription I have to start screening. Every 6 to 12 months I have to do the screening, and toxicity is mainly after 5 years. ठीक है ना? Now what are the tests I have to do when I want to do the screening? So basically check the visual acuity, look at the fundus, macular area, do the fields also, so that you come to know that how much is your field, how much of the field is affected or not. So for that we can do the Humphreys field perimetry, that is most commonly used. I have to look at the layers of the retina, so for that I am doing the spectral OCT. Then this lesion is autofluorescent, so you have also do the autofluorescence, and then finally the ERG, multifocal ERG. So these are the 5 most important tests that we are doing for the screening. ठीक है ना? For the screening I am going to do these 5 tests. This is by the American Academy of Ophthalmology, that these are the 5 important tests that one should do for the screening. All right, then the symptoms. Now because you know it's affecting the outer layers, so outer layers may you have more of rods, that is why it is causing the nyctalopia. Then it is also causing the constriction of the fields, and the typical sign that you get on OCT is the flying saucer sign. So if they are asking you about the sign, it is the flying saucer sign. Why not bullseye maculopathy? This is coming pretty late. So in the later stages you get this bullseye maculopathy. Means any of the form they can twist in any form, and they can ask you this question. So I am giving you in multiple forms how they can ask you. So now once you have seen everything, if you go back to your question there, yeah. So if you look here, the bullseye maculopathy is not reversible, but yes, the vortex keratopathy is reversible. Cornea verticillata is reversible. Bullseye maculopathy is related to the dose. Cornea verticillata is not related to the dose. Duration of the treatment more than 5 years is definitely a risk factor, and cumulative dose. So cumulative dose कितना था? Chloroquine का it was 460. And hydroxychloroquine ka was 1000 grams. If you look at the daily dosage, so this was 3 and this was 6.5. This is in grams, and this is in your milligrams. It is something like this. So you have to take care of it. So now I think the Question is quite clear to you. Another question that was there in on hydroxychloroquine last year, I think that was there in PGI or something. So they asked what is true about hydroxychloroquine. So you can get a similar question also. Ophthalmology examination by the indirect ophthalmoscopes. Now this itself is objectionable. You want to see the macula. It's a bullseye maculopathy. So you will not use the indirect ophthalmoscope, and that too they are doing every 5 years. So obviously we will not do every 5 years. We have to do every 6 to 12 months pay. We have to do the examination, and you have to start within 6 months, and we will use the slit lamp biomicroscopy, slit lamp biomicroscopy we can use, or we can use the direct ophthalmoscope. Direct ophthalmoscope we are going to use, not the indirect. Causes the bullseye maculopathy by affecting the ganglionic cell layer. No, so it was affecting the RPE layer, then it was affecting the layer of the photoreceptors, and after the photoreceptors it is affecting the outer nuclear layer. So this is also wrong. Then option number 3 is acting on the photoreceptors. So this is definitely true. It is acting on the photoreceptors. And the adult dosage. So adult dosage is not 7.5. If you remember, hydroxychloroquine ka toxicity was there when it was more than 6.5. So obviously the toxicity toxic levels are there more than 6.5. So 7.5 cannot be the dosage. So this is also wrong. So what will be the answer? Answer to this question is that yes, it's acting on the photoreceptors. Okay. All right. Now coming to the next one. Okay. Now see this. First of all, tell me what is this investigation? This is again important. What is this? And then we will be discussing that what are you getting on this. Spectral OCT क्या है कि like in OCT also you are getting all the layers. There you are getting more detailed information about the different layers of the retina. So that is your spectral OCT. Yes. So who will tell what is this diagnosis here? And yes, it's a Humphreys field analyzer. Printout is there. Now see, when I'm talking about the eyes like this, then we usually take as if the patient is facing me. So this becomes the right eye and this becomes the left eye in that case. But when we are looking at the fields, when I'm looking at the fields, okay, so that time it is as if it is my one. So as if the patient is standing not facing me but like me. So my right will become his right and my left will become his left. So now this becomes the right side. So now this side becomes the right side and this side becomes the left side. Okay? Now because here you can see a blind spot. So blind spot is on the right side. Now whichever side blind spot it is, that eye it will be. So blind spot on the right side. So this will be your right eye. Because blind spot is in the temporal field. Now why blind spot is on the temporal field? Abhi wo bhi baat karte hain. See, suppose we have got the eye here. Okay. Now towards the nasal side, I have the optic nerve. I will divide this into two parts. This is your nasal retina and this is the temporal retina. And the nasal side, we have this optic nerve. Now what is happening? There is a vacuum here. This is called as optic nerve head or optic disc. Optic nerve head है या फिर optic disc है. This will be leading to a blind spot here. in the opposite field. So this will be your temporal field. Temporal field, visual field. While this temporal retina will be going towards the nasal visual field. Okay? So whenever we are having the blind spot, it is always in the temporal field. So if I am having the blind spot on the right side, then that will be right eye. If I am having a blind spot towards the left side, that will be left eye, because right eye का temporal on the right side है, left eye का temporal on the left side है. ठीक है? So very easily you can find out that which side eye it is. Now what is the pattern you are getting? You are getting something like this. Can you see? This is a arcuate scotoma. So I am getting here the arcuate scotoma. And where do you get this arcuate scotoma? Have you told the diagnosis here? Yes. So is it a case of retinitis pigmentosa, glaucoma, pituitary adenoma, या फिर temporal lobe infarct? Now let me try to write what are the defects you get in cases of retinitis pigmentosa. What you are going to get? We will get the ring-shaped scotoma. Okay, so is it a ring-shaped scotoma? Open angle glaucoma में you know whole of the range. अभी हम वो discuss करेंगे. Now pituitary adenoma. Pituitary adenoma will compress the optic chiasma. Optic chiasma, it is compressing, therefore this will cause bitemporal hemianopia. And if I talk about this chiasma here, like this, okay? So this chiasma can be compressed from both the sides. It can be compressed from superior side also. It could be compressed from the inferior side also. Okay? So superior is your Taj. So this will be your craniopharyngioma. Craniopharyngioma compresses the superior fibers. So I will have inferior heteronemus. Heteronemus quadrant anopia, while the pituitary adenoma, P for pituitary and P for pedal also. Pedals are on the inferior side. So this is compressing the inferior fibers. So this is going to cause the superior heteronemus. So this is going to cause the superior heteronemus quadrant anopia. So very, very precisely, bitemporal ka bhi it is causing the superior heteronemus quadrant anopia, which will be your bitemporal. मतलब अगर इस तरह से हम बनाते हैं, so because they are compressing only half of the fibers, so bitemporal ka which quadrant they are going to affect? So when I am talking about this inferior, so only the inferior quadrant of both sides is affected. And when I am talking about the superior heteronemus quadrant anopia, so only the superior quadrant of both the sides is affected, like this. Right? Then if I am talking about the temporal lobe, so temporal lobe is causing the superior homonymous quadrant topia, which is also called as the pie in the sky appearance. Now this is actually different from your heteronemus quadrant anopia, because this will be homonymous. So if you look at this, now we are going to talk about the homonymous. So same sides of both the eyes are going to be affected, and this is contralateral. So whichever side is affected, opposite side field. So we are having the superior homonymous. So superior quadrant of both the sides. Superior quadrant of both the sides is affected. So what happens? Temporal lobe are the fibers which are inferior fibers. So because inferior fibers are affected, so it is the superior quadrant which is affected. superior quadrant of both the sides. So this appearance is called as the pie in the sky appearance. Now, so it's, if you look here, this is a arcuate scotoma. It is not the pie in the sky appearance or pie in the floor appearance. It's not a ring scotoma. It is actually, yes, it's a arcuate scotoma. So what will be your answer? Open angle glaucoma. Now, why we are getting the arcuate shaped scotoma? If you look at the fibers of the retina, that is again important. If you look at the fibers of the retina, suppose it is something like this, and this is your middle one. So on the nasal side, we have the optic disc. Okay, this is your optic disc here, and this side will be your macula. So the fibers that you are getting on the because this is your the optic disc, so this side will be the nasal side, and the other side will be the temporal side. Okay, so nasal side with the fibers which are there, they are actually the radiating fibers. So they are radiating like this. These are also radiating like this. So these are called as superior and inferior radiating fibers. Okay, on the nasal side. While if you look at the temporal side, so on the temporal side, we have got the arc-like fibers like this. We have arcs here. These are your arc-like fibers. So these are called as the superior and inferior arcuate fibers. These are your arcuate fibers on the temporal side, and these are the radiating fibers on the nasal side. And in the center, we have comparatively the straighter fibers like this. So these straight fibers are your papillomacular bundle. Papillomacular bundle. Papillo matlab optic disc, and macula ko connecting, we have straight fibers. So these arcuate fibers, these are the most sensitive fibers which are affected in glaucoma, most sensitive to the glaucoma, because these fibers are most sensitive to the glaucoma. Therefore, what you are getting is the arcuate scotoma in cases of glaucoma. So always remember this thing. This distribution of fibers is again important, right?